Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled A-N-D, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. Well, we're into our 22nd week number 22 now, and we can talk more precisely and more carefully about the basic fundamental message of these weekly talks. We do talk about miracles, but remember they're all predicated on the fact that we all talk to God. So if we keep talking to God during our day, asking Him what to do about many things, He grants us wisdom. And the wisdom and doing what He tells us is where we see all of our miracles. So it's important at this point, I think, to talk about the fact that most people, when God comes to them and starts talking, wants to talk to them, and we tell people you can talk to God, most people say, no way, wait, I need more time to think about this. Stop, don't rush me. They won't just jump right into it because there's a lot of reasons for it, but let's talk about a fundamental reason. If you read the very first book in the Bible, the book of Genesis, talks about creation and Adam and Eve. When you read that story, an amazing thing happens. The devil comes on the scene. The devil comes in the form of a snake. So that's really the fundamental problem. Because, those cartoons that we see in the movies or there are even magazines talk about Casper the Friendly Ghost. Those cartoons show a friendly, wonderful, friendly little angel on your right shoulder and a very nasty red creature with horns on your left shoulder. And the cartoons kind of tell you that all day long there's a red devil on your left side whispering into your left ear, and all day long there's a wonderful angel on your right side speaking into your right ear. So those cartoons have grown out of 7,000 years of wisdom. 7,000 years is the time from Adam and Eve up to right now, and all the things the world has learned. And so those cartoons are really a summary of 7,000 years of a message. All of us are supposed to talk to God, listen to our angel. Our angel will guide us and inspire us and tell us what God is talking to us about. In other words, you can talk to the angel and listen to the angel, and in effect, you're really talking to God and listening to God. And that's very philosophical and theological, and you can do research on what an angel really is, but an angel really is that kind of a thing. We talk to the angels, and they talk to us, and that's how we talk to God, and God talks to us. And I'm making this very oversimplified, of course. But remember the cartoon of the two angels, one on each shoulder. If you read in the book of Job, just the first two chapters of Job, spelled J-O-B, like when you're trying to get a job, you're trying to find work, just the first two chapters of Job, you'll see the devil comes on the scene again. And in the book of Revelation, at the end of the Bible, the devil arrived in the beginning of the Bible with Adam and Eve, but the devil is still there at the end of the Bible in the book of Revelation. And so all of that is to convince you that that's why most people say, no way. When God wants to talk to them, they say, no way, God. I need more time. Wait, I'm not going to jump right into us. So most people do that. And they're really terrified, most people. And I was there once myself, and I'll be sharing some of that in a little bit. But it's like going to someone and saying, look, we're going to go up into a plane right now. I'm going to put a parachute on you. We're going to be way up above the clouds, and then I'm going to push you out of the plane. But don't worry, you're going to pull the ripcord, and your parachute's going to open. That's what people feel like when you say talk to God. They say, oh, my God, I can't do that. So I'm going to relate to you my famous story of the parable of the ice cube. That's the parable of the ice cube. You can imagine a frozen little ice cube that we put into our drinks. And this is a parable. The way it goes is God goes to the ice cube and he says, you would have a much better life. You'd have more happiness if you would just talk to me and have conversations with me. That's all you have to do is just talk to me and have conversations. And I'll tell you all things you never even imagined. And we'll do great things together. And what does the ice cube do? It starts to shake and rattle and it says, no way, because the little ice cube thinks you're going to take me up into a plane, put a parachute on me and throw me out of the plane. No way. And then the ice cube says, I saw all those other ice cubes that talk to you. I've seen you talking to ice cubes, God, and I see what happens, so I'm really, justified to be frightened because you talk to these ice cubes and pretty soon they start to melt. They turn into liquid. And then this liquid, I guess you call it water, it starts to flow down the hills and down the mountains, and I see it flowing, and then it goes into streams, and it disappears into the streams, and then it goes into big, vast rivers. I've seen that. And then the rivers go into these big, huge lakes and into the ocean. Oh, my God, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. God, that's what happened to all the ice cubes you talk to. They go through this process. It's frightening. And God says... first, the ice cube is trying to convince God that he's very, very much afraid, and he's been watching. And now God comes to him and says, no, you really don't understand. Let me explain. This is why you have to talk to me, because if you talk to me, I can explain these things. So let me explain. Please listen very, very carefully. Just listen. Listen very carefully now, and I'll tell you what's really going on. You saw the ice cubes melt and turn into water and flow down into streams. And as they're flowing down into streams, they flow down and they meet others. They wind up in a stream and they meet other ice cubes that have melted all over the world. They're all melting and they're coming into streams, and then they're meeting each other. So all of these particles of ice cubes are meeting. Let's call them droplets or drops of water. And they're meeting new friends that they would have never met from all over the world. And then these streams, they go down into rivers. And when they get into rivers now, this is called multitudes of streams of droplets. They start making beautiful music as they're going down the rivers, and they're bouncing off of the rocks and the stones and whatever's in the river, the rapids. They make beautiful music together. They're singing and frolicking. They're enjoying each other's company. They're talking about all the adventures they've had in life. Multitudes and multitudes of ice cubes in particles flowing together. And then they get into the ocean. Oh, my gosh. And in the ocean, what a wonderful thing happens. All of these droplets that came into streams and rivers and flowed down into lakes, and now they're into oceans. And what's happening is all of these droplets now are all chattering together and talking together about all of their wonderful experiences, and they're moving about because they're now flexible to move, and they move around from one to the other and share their stories and all the things they've seen. And this becomes a wonderful sort of a silent humming that goes on 24 hours a day. If you're very quiet by the ocean, you can hear this very soft humming. And the humming is because the whole ocean listens to every droplet tell his story one at a time. So one droplet at a time tells their story, and the entire ocean is listening. And then after that, the next thing that happens is you don't see it, but the sun in the sky, the heat that I send, it causes the water in the ocean to vaporize, and it turns into a gas. And the gas, it raises up into the sky. You can't see it happening, but once it gets up there, it starts to form these white clouds, these puffy white clouds. Now, all of these droplets that were traveling all over and spending time in the ocean and listening to all these stories, now they're all droplets up in the clouds talking. And if you watch the clouds, they start to form different shapes. You'll see faces and animals and flowers and trees. All the clouds begin to form various structures in this white puffy mass. And then what happens when the clouds get pretty heavy and the droplets join together and they get heavy enough, they become drops of water and they fall down to earth again and they start the whole process all over again. So that's what's really happening. Instead of just being an ice cube and staying in one place, these ice cubes that have listened to me and talked to me and done what I've told them to do, they've had marvelous lives over and over. They go back to the ocean. They have, let's call each trip to the ocean as a separate project, and they have many miracles in the process. And all their miracles come from just listening to the voice of God. And that's what I want to give to you, Mr. Ice Cube. Do you understand? And the ice cube says, well, you've convinced me to think about it, so I will think about it. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story of the ice cube, and I wanted to convince you that most people will say no or wait or God, let me think about it. So I want to encourage you, when God asks you to do things, don't say no. Say, God, I will think about it. I'll get back to you later. But that's the way to do it. Keep entertaining whatever God tells you. I have to tell you that because it's been 50 years now. It's 1 year more than 49 years. I've been asking God what to do and doing what he tells me, and sometimes I say wait, and sometimes I say I'm not sure, and I feel like I'm jumping out of a plane with a parachute, and that's how we feel when we're talking to God. But, we keep praying about it, thinking about it, listening to him more and more every time he comes, and he convinces us to do the things that we do, and he shows us that he helps us, and with his help we can do anything. And so I encourage you to do that. After 50 years of experiencing 3 miracles every day, on average 3 miracles a day, I've experienced 50,000 miracles. I wrote 2 books now called Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. And every time he asked me to write a book, I said, no, wait, I'm not sure. So he said, well, look, why don't you write a diary? How about writing a diary? See how that goes. So I wrote a diary, and then he said, what do you think, Tony? Pretty good book, don't you think? So that's how come I wrote 2 books. He got me to write a diary first, and then he got them to be books, and now I published 2 books. And lo and behold, I've had some friends in China read the books and offered to translate them. And so now, very shortly, we'll be issuing our Chinese translated version of book number 1. I'm all excited. See, God came to this little ice cube, and I didn't want to write a book, so he said write a diary. Then he got me over a 2-year period to write 2 books, and now it's going to be issued in China, in the Chinese language, to billions, 1.2 billion people. In the Bible, in the first book of Samuel, chapter 3, verse 9, a very young boy, Samuel, very young, he didn't say no to God. He said, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. After 50 years, at the age of 75, God said, Tony, I want you to write a book. I said, I can't do that. I can't write a book. He said, okay, write a diary. And now they've taken it, made 2 books out of it, and pretty soon they're going to be having it in the Chinese version in China, 1.2 billion people. This is why I tell everybody, ask God what to do what he tells you, and you'll start seeing miracles in your life every day. God bless you all. I'll talk to you next week.